Imagine walking into a Florida store in 2026 and paying for your groceries with a gold coin. Sounds like something from the Wild West, right? Well, that's exactly what Governor Ron DeSantis just made possible. Florida is now set to become the first major state where you can use actual gold and silver as money. And the timing couldn't be more interesting. On Tuesday, DeSantis signed a law that's got everyone talking. Starting July 1st, 2026, Floridians will be able to use gold and silver coins to pay for everything from taxes to everyday purchases. We're not talking about collectibles here. These are actual gold coins with 99.5% purity and silver coins with 99.9% purity that'll work just like cash. Each coin has to be stamped with its weight, purity, and where it was minted, so you know exactly what you're getting. Now, you might be thinking, why would anyone want to carry around heavy metal coins when we've got credit cards and Venmo? Here's where it gets fascinating. Since 2015, gold has tripled in value. Meanwhile, that dollar in your pocket, it's been losing purchasing power year after year. DeSantis put it bluntly when he said this gives Floridians, quote, financial freedom to protect yourself against the declining value of the dollar. And he's not wrong about the dollar losing value. Right now, inflation is sitting at 2.3%. That's actually down from 2.4% last month, which sounds good until you realize economists are predicting it could shoot up to 3.5% by the end of this year. Some are even saying we could see 4% inflation by mid-2026. Remember, every time inflation goes up, your dollars buy less stuff. The timing of this Florida law is particularly striking when you look at what's happening to the dollar globally. Since mid-January, the dollar has fallen 9% against other currencies. That's a massive drop that has Wall Street economists worried. Some are even questioning whether the dollar is losing its status as the world's safe haven currency. One report from Deutsche Bank warned of a potential confidence crisis in the dollar. But here's the thing. Florida isn't going rogue here. They're actually using a power that's been in the Constitution all along. Article 1, Section 10 says states can't coin their own money, but they absolutely can make gold and silver coin a tender in payment of debts. It's been right there in black and white since 1787, just waiting for someone to use it. Florida is joining a movement that's been quietly building across America. Utah was actually first back in 2011, followed by states like Louisiana, Oklahoma, and Wyoming. But Florida is by far the largest state to take this step. Right now, about 23 states are either considering similar laws or have already passed them. That's nearly half the country looking at alternatives to Federal Reserve notes. State Representative Doug Bankson, who sponsored Florida's bill, made an interesting point. He said a house that cost $75,000 in 1979 would cost $531,000 today in dollars. But if you'd bought that same house with gold back then, 268 ounces, it would still cost exactly 268 ounces of gold. That's because gold holds its value, while paper money doesn't. The practical side of this is still being worked out. Money service businesses like check cashers and even PayPal will have to accept gold and silver. Government agencies can take it for tax payments. And here's a nice bonus. Florida won't charge sales tax on precious metal purchases anymore, which used to add 6% to the cost. Of course, not everyone's convinced this will work smoothly. Mark Bonnet, who owns Tampa Bay Coin and Precious Metals, supports the idea, but wonders about implementation. He points out that once a week, someone tries to sell him fake gold. How will regular businesses handle verification? These are the kinds of details Florida officials have until November to figure out. The bigger picture here is about trust, or the lack of it. More and more states are worried about federal deficit spending and money printing. The Federal Reserve has been creating dollars at unprecedented rates, and states are looking for ways to protect their citizens from potential currency devaluation. It's not that different from why people buy insurance. You hope you never need it, but you're glad it's there. What's really happening here is a fundamental question about money itself. For most of human history, money was tied to something physical, usually gold or silver. That changed in 1971 when President Nixon took us off the gold standard. Since then, dollars have value simply because the government says they do and people believe it. But what happens when that belief starts to waver? Florida's law takes effect in July 2026, assuming state regulators work out all the details by this November. If they don't, the whole thing disappears. But if they do, Florida becomes ground zero for an experiment in monetary choice that could spread nationwide. The bill passed unanimously in both Florida's House and Senate, 113-0 and 38-0. That kind of bipartisan support is almost unheard of these days. It tells you something about how worried lawmakers are about the dollar's future. This isn't about conspiracy theories or doomsday prepping. It's about giving people choices in uncertain times. Whether you think it's brilliant or unnecessary, one thing is clear. The way we think about money is changing. And Florida just placed a very public bet on which direction that change is heading. What do you think? Would you rather have your savings in dollars that lose value to inflation every year, or in gold and silver that have held their value for centuries? Sources for this story include reporting from Fox 13 Tampa Bay, the Federal Reserve, the Bureau of Labor Statistics inflation data, analysis from J.P. Morgan Asset Management, Charles Schwab Market Research, and Harvard economist Kenneth Rogoff's recent work on dollar dominance.